Before we dive in, viewer discretion is advised. This content is for entertainment purposes. What happens when one of Hollywood's most elegant and composed actresses walks onto a talk show set expecting a simple film promotion, only to find herself trapped in the most vicious ambush ever televised? What you're about to witness is the moment Nicole Kidman, a woman who has spent 3 decades mastering the art of grace under pressure, finally reached her breaking point and delivered a takedown so devastating that it left Joy Behar speechless, humiliated, and exposed as the petty, jealous host she truly is. This wasn't just another celebrity interview gone wrong. This was a public execution disguised as journalism. And by the end, only one woman would walk away with her dignity intact. The morning of November 12th started like any other promotional day for Nicole Kidman. She had a new film to promote, a psychological thriller that was already generating Oscar buzz. Her publicist had confirmed the appearance on The View weeks earlier, a standard stop on the talk show circuit, usually filled with softball questions about costumes, co-stars, and craft services. Nicole had done hundreds of these interviews. She knew the rhythm, the beats, the comfortable dance of celebrity promotion. She arrived at the studio early, her trademark auburn hair perfectly styled, wearing an elegant cream-colored dress that struck the perfect balance between approachable and aspirational. In the green room, she sipped herbal tea and reviewed talking points with her team, completely unaware that Joy Behar had spent the previous evening and all morning digging through decade-old interviews, tabloid rumors, and unverified gossip, constructing an arsenal specifically designed to destroy her. Those who worked regularly on The View set noticed something different that day. Joy arrived earlier than usual, unusually focused, clutching a folder thick with printed articles. She barely spoke to the other hosts during the production meeting. Whoopi Goldberg, sensing something brewing, tried to ask what was going on, but Joy waved her off with a tight smile. The makeup artists whispered among themselves they'd seen this look before. Joy was hunting, and everyone knew that when Joy decided to hunt, blood would be spilled before the commercial break. The studio audience filed in, excited to see Nicole Kidman in person. Many brought photos they hoped to get signed. The warm-up comedian did his routine and the familiar View theme music began to play. The cameras went live, the red lights illuminated, and Nicole Kidman walked onto that stage with the grace and confidence that had made her one of the most respected actresses in the world, completely oblivious to the fact that she was walking straight into an ambush. "Welcome back to The View," Joy began, her voice dripping with a false sweetness that anyone paying close attention would have recognized as dangerous. "I'm Joy Behar and we're here with the incredibly talented Nicole Kidman." Her smile was bright, professional, perfect, and didn't reach her eyes even slightly. "Nicole, it's so wonderful to have you here with us today." Nicole settled into the chair, crossing her legs gracefully, returning the smile with genuine warmth. "Thank you for having me, Joy. It's always a pleasure to be on the show." The lie was social lubricant, nothing more. Nicole had been on The View exactly 3 times before, and each appearance had been forgettable, which was exactly how she preferred these things to go. The first 7 minutes unfolded exactly as expected. They discussed the new film, the complexity of playing a woman unraveling psychologically, the challenges of the shoot. Nicole spoke eloquently about her preparation, the research she'd done into trauma and memory. The audience was engaged. Sunonni host asked about working with the director. Sarah Haynes complimented her dress. It was professional, pleasant, exactly what everyone expected. But those watching Joy closely could see the shift. Her posture changed. Her jaw tightened. Her questions, while still couched in politeness, began to carry an edge, a sharpness that made the studio audience start to shift uncomfortably in their seats. The other hosts noticed it, too. Whoopi's eyes narrowed. Sunny glanced at the producers off camera, a silent question hanging in the air. Something was happening. Something was building. "You know, Nicole," Joy said, and her tone had changed completely now, the false warmth evaporating like morning dew under a harsh Sunday. She leaned forward with what could only be described as predatory interest, her eyes gleaming with something that looked disturbingly like pleasure. "I was reading some of your old interviews last night. Fascinating stuff. You've been quite vocal about your political views over the years, haven't you?" The temperature in the studio dropped 10 degrees. Nicole's smile faltered just for a fraction of a second, but she recovered smoothly, her decades of training kicking in. "Well, I think it's important for people to be engaged with the world around them," she said carefully, her Australian accent becoming slightly more pronounced, as it always did when she was choosing her words with extra care. "But when I'm here to promote a film, I try to keep the focus on the work. I think that's what your audience is really interested in." Joy's laugh was sharp, calculated, designed to wound. "Oh, but surely you can't just turn off your opinions when it's convenient, can you?" She pressed forward, her voice taking on an aggressive edge that made several audience members actually recoil. "I mean, you've made some pretty strong statements about certain political figures over the years, about social issues, about what actors should and shouldn't do with their platforms. You remember those interviews, don't you?" The trap was being set, and everyone in the studio could see it except Nicole. "Joy, I'm really here to talk about the film," Nicole said, maintaining her composure, but unable to hide the slight tension that had crept into her shoulders. Her hands resting in her lap, clasped just a bit tighter. "I think the audience would be more interested in hearing about the incredible story we're telling and the amazing cast I was fortunate to work with." "The audience can decide what they're interested in, can't they?" Joy shot back, her mask slipping further now, revealing glimpses of something ugly underneath. "I'm just curious about this tendency you seem to have, speaking out passionately on issues when it suits you and then retreating into a 'I'm just here for my work' when someone actually wants to discuss those positions. It's an interesting pattern, don't you think?" Whoopi tried to intervene, recognizing that Joy was going completely off script and into dangerous unprofessional territory. "Maybe we should talk about the amazing cast Nicole got to work with on this film," she suggested, her voice carrying a warning that Joy completely ignored. "No, no," Joy said, waving Whoopi off dismissively without even looking at her. "I think this is important. This is the kind of conversation that matters." She turned back to Nicole, and her eyes were gleaming with malicious intent now, all pretense of journalistic curiosity abandoned. "Nicole, you made some comments a few years ago about the entertainment industry and how it handles social issues. You said that silence makes people complicit. Do you still stand by those comments? Or was that just another case of Hollywood virtue signaling?" The phrase virtue signaling landed like a slap. Nicole's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Her blue eyes, which had been warm and open just minutes before, went cold. "I'm not sure what specific comments you're referring to, Joy," she said, her voice still controlled, but with steel creeping in around the edges. "But I've always tried to speak honestly about issues I care about. I've never claimed to be perfect, but I've tried to be authentic." "Oh, come on, Nicole." Joy's voice rose slightly, carrying across the studio like a challenge. "You know exactly what I'm talking about. You criticize the industry for not doing enough, for staying silent, for protecting powerful people. But then when push comes to shove, you're right. The collecting your paychecks and keeping very, very quiet when it actually matters." The studio fell absolutely silent except for the mechanical hum of cameras capturing every excruciating second. Nicole took a deep breath, clearly struggling to maintain the professional demeanor that had served her so well throughout her career. "Joy, I think there might be some misunderstanding here," she said. But her voice had gone dangerously quiet. The kind of quiet that people who knew her would recognize as a warning sign. "I've consistently supported causes I believe in both publicly and privately. I've put my money where my mouth is. I've shown up. I've used my platform to amplify voices that need amplifying consistently." Joy's voice dripped with sarcasm so thick it was almost visible. "Really? Because from where I'm sitting, and I've been sitting in this chair for a very long time, it looks like you pick and choose when to have a conscience based on what's most convenient for your career at any given moment." Nicole's eyes flashed the first real crack in her composed facade. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice carrying a dangerous edge now, but I'm not going to sit here and have my integrity questioned based on some twisted interpretation of past interviews taken completely out of context. Twisted interpretation? Joy leaned back in her chair, a satisfied smirk playing at her lips like a cat that had just cornered a mouse. I'm just pointing out the inconsistencies in your public persona, Nicole. That's what journalism is supposed to do, isn't it? Hold people accountable, ask the tough questions, or should I just sit here and help you sell your movie like every other psychopathic interviewer? Journalism. Nicole's voice carried a note of genuine disbelief now. Is that what you call this? An ambush? Joy, I came here in good faith to discuss my work, and you're trying to manufacture some kind of controversy where absolutely none exists. The tension in the studio was now so thick you could cut it with a knife. Camera operators glanced at each other nervously, unsure whether they should keep filming or cut away. Producers in the control room were frantically signaling to Joy to back off, but she was beyond listening now. She had caught the scent of blood and she wasn't going to stop until she had inflicted maximum damage. Controversy. Joy's mask was slipping completely now, her true intentions becoming crystal clear to everyone watching. Oh, Nicole, if you think asking tough questions is creating controversy, maybe you're not as committed to those lofty principles you're always lecturing everyone else about. Maybe the problem isn't my questions. Maybe the problem is that you can't handle being held to the same standards you demand from everyone else. Nicole's hands, still clasped in her lap, had gone white-knuckled. Her breathing had become slightly more rapid. Anyone who knew anything about body language could see that she was reaching a breaking point. But she was still fighting to maintain control, still believing that professionalism could save this situation. You know what, Joy? Nicole said, her voice steady, but absolutely frigid. I've been doing interviews for over 30 years. I've sat across from some of the toughest interviewers in the business. Real journalists who actually know how to ask challenging questions without resorting to personal attacks. And I can tell the difference between tough questions and a hit job. This isn't journalism. This is something else entirely. Joy's eyes lit up with malicious pleasure, like someone who had been waiting years for exactly this moment. A hit job, she repeated, savoring the words. That's quite an accusation, Nicole. Quite serious. Maybe the problem isn't my questions at all. Maybe the problem is that you can't handle being held accountable for your own words and your own choices. Maybe you're just not used to being challenged by someone who isn't intimidated by your fame or your Oscar nominations. Accountable for what exactly? Nicole demanded, her composure finally beginning to